I bought the car on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of day that looks ordinary until it isn't. The sky was flat gray. The showroom lights were too bright. My hands were steady when I signed the papers, but something in my chest kept tapping like it didn't quite believe this was real yet. 3 years. 3 years of skipped weekends. 3 years of saying no when everyone else said, just come out for one drink. And now it was mine. I remember the sound when the door closed. Not loud, clean, final. I sat there for a second longer than necessary, hands on the wheel, breathing in the new car smell, like it might vanish if I didn't. I wasn't thinking about status. I wasn't thinking about flexing. I was thinking about every night I went home exhausted and told myself, keep going. That drive back to my place felt quiet in a way I hadn't felt before. Earned quiet. I parked under the streetlight outside my apartment. The light flickered once, then steadied. I locked the car. The click echoed sharper than it should have. That was the first thing I built completely on my own. If you've ever worked twice as hard just to be seen half as much, if you've ever had family treat your effort like it didn't count because it didn't benefit them, go ahead and hit like. Subscribe if you know what it feels like to finally draw a line. Because this story isn't about a car, it's about what happens when someone decides your work belongs to them. The first person to see it wasn't a friend. It was Logan. He showed up that Friday evening without texting, just knocked already smiling like he owned the place. I opened the door, and his eyes slid past me, immediately locking onto the car through the window. "Well, damn," he said. "Didn't know you were doing that well." His tone wasn't impressed. It was curious, measuring. I stepped aside so he could come in. The dishwasher was running a low mechanical hum, filling the room. I could still smell soap on my hands. "It's new," I said. "Nothing more." Logan nodded slowly, then smiled wider. "Figures. You always had that grind thing, that word, thing, like discipline was a personality flaw." He walked straight to the window palms on the glass. "Bet it's fun to drive." I didn't answer. He turned. "Let me take it out sometime." "No." One word, flat, clean. His smile froze for half a second, just enough to notice. Then he laughed. "Relax." I was joking, but his eyes didn't laugh. Dinner at my parents' place happened 2 nights later. Same house, same table, same overhead light that buzzed faintly like it had something to say but never quite did. Mom set plates down too hard. Dad scrolled on his phone, pretending not to listen. Logan was already there, leaning back in his chair, ankle resting on his knee like he had all the space in the world. So Mom said, smiling tight, "Logan told us about your new car." There it was. Dad finally looked up. "Nice," he said, then went back to his screen. Logan grinned. "Told you she'd get something flashy." "Flashy?" That was the first snap. "It's not flashy," I said. "It's paid for." Silence. Then Mom waved her hand. "You know what he means?" I did. I always did. Logan leaned forward, elbows on the table. "You should let me drive it. Just once. You don't even use it that much." "I use it," I said. "I just don't abuse it." Mom sighed, already tired. "Emily, don't start." I hadn't started anything. That was the second snap. Dad finally looked at me. "He's family." That was his entire argument. I said no, I replied. Logan rolled his eyes. "God, you're so intense." Mom laughed softly the way she always did when she wanted something to sound smaller than it was. He didn't mean it like that. I pushed my chair back and stood. The metal legs scraped against the tile. Loud. Sharp. "I'm leaving," I said. Mom looked startled. Over a joke, I looked at Logan. He was smiling again. "Comfortable." "Yeah," I said. "Over that." That night, I put my spare keys on the hook by the kitchen door. I remember because my sleeve caught on the nail and I had to tug it free. The fabric stretched, didn't tear. I wish I had paid more attention to that sound. The next evening, my phone buzzed while I was folding laundry. One buzz, then another. Unknown number. I ignored it. The dishwasher was running again. Same hum, same light in the kitchen. Then my phone rang. "Ms. Carter." "This is your insurance provider." Everything in my body went cold at once. "There's been an incident involving your vehicle." I didn't answer right away. I walked to the hook. The hook was empty. That was the third snap. the one that didn't make noise. By the time I got to the street, they told me about the lights were already flashing. Red, blue, red again, painting everything in harsh color. My car sat at an angle it was never meant to be at. Front end crushed. Hood bent upward like a broken wing. And there he was. Logan leaned against a pole, arms crossed, perfectly fine. Not a scratch on him. He saw me and smiled. "Hey," he said, "you made it." I walked toward him. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. "You took my car." He shrugged. "Borrowed it. You stole it." He tilted his head. "Come on, don't be dramatic." A police officer stepped between us. Clipboard. Neutral face. Logan laughed quietly. "Relax. Mom'll fix it." I felt something twist tight in my chest. Mom arrived 10 minutes later. She didn't look at the car first. She looked at Logan. "Oh my God," she said, pulling him into a hug. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," he said. "She's freaking out." She turned to me, eyes already sharp. "Emily, look at you. This isn't helping. Dad showed up last. He stood back, hands in pockets like this was weather passing through. Accidents happen," he said. "Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be." I stared at my car, then at Logan, then at my parents. "This wasn't an accident," I said. "He took my keys." Mom frowned. Why were they where he could get them? That was the fourth snap. Logan smiled, small, victorious. Mom touched my arm. Her grip was tighter than necessary. "Honey," she said quietly, like she was offering mercy, "just let it go. Family forgives family." Her voice cracked on the word family. That was the moment I knew nothing in that room was on my side anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Not the kind of dramatic, wide-eyed insomnia people post about. The quiet kind. The kind where your body shuts down but your mind stays standing, arms crossed, watching. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hood folded in on itself. Every time I exhaled, I heard Logan's voice. "Relax, Mom'll fix it." Morning came without permission. My phone was already buzzing when I rolled onto my side. 3 missed calls, all from Mom. 1 text from Dad. "We need to talk. Come by before work." No apology, no question, just a summons. I showered fast. Cold water, no music. I watched my face in the mirror like it belonged to someone else. Same eyes, sharper now. When I reached for my jacket, my hand brushed the empty hook again. Muscle memory. A ghost reach. That hurt more than I expected. The drive over felt longer than it was. Same streets I'd driven 100 times. Same houses, same lawns trimmed to look calm. Their driveway was full. Logan's car parked crooked like always, nose too close to the garage. Of course. Inside the house smelled like coffee and toast. Comfort smells, the kind meant to soften edges. Mom was already talking when I stepped in. "Sit," she said, pointing at the chair like this was court, and she was ready to rule. Dad stood near the counter, arms folded. Logan sat at the table, scrolling his phone thumbs, moving fast. He didn't look up. Mom clasped her hands. "We've discussed it." That word again. We. Dad cleared his throat. "We're going to handle the repairs." I stayed standing. "I'm not asking you to," I said. Mom waved me off. "I know you're upset." "No," I said. "You don't." Logan snorted, eyes still on his screen. "It's a car, Emily. You're acting like someone died." That was the 5th snap. I stepped closer to the table. "You took something that wasn't yours." He finally looked up. His smile was lazy. "And it's family." Mom nodded immediately. Exactly. There it was. The shield. The excuse wrapped in a warm word. Dad sighed. "This doesn't need to get ugly." "It already did," I said. "Last night." Mom's lips pressed thin. "You're overreacting." I laughed once. Short, sharp. Even that surprised me. "You're upset about the wrong thing," she continued. "You should be grateful he's okay." I looked at Logan. He raised his eyebrows, smug. "I am grateful," I said slowly. "That he walked away. I'm not grateful that he laughed." Logan scoffed. "You're imagining that." I turned to Mom. He laughed. She didn't deny it. She just tilted her head. He was nervous. The gas light flickered on. Dad stepped forward. "Look, we'll pay whatever the insurance doesn't cover. You won't lose anything." I felt my jaw tighten. "That's not true," I said. "I already lost it." Mom frowned. "What do you mean I lost the right to say no?" I said. "Apparently." Logan leaned back, chair creaking. "You're being dramatic again." Mom shot him a look, but it wasn't sharp. It was gentle, protective. "Emily," she said, lowering her voice, "be the bigger person." There it was, the phrase that had swallowed my childhood whole. Be patient, be understanding, be quiet. I thought about college, about working doubles while Logan dropped classes and shrugged, about my first apartment with mismatched furniture and ramen nights while he complained about his allowance. I looked at my parents, at the same faces that told me I was strong enough to handle things alone. "I'm done being bigger," I said. Dad blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm filing a report." The room shifted. Mom stiffened. "A report?" "Yes." Logan laughed loud this time. "You're kidding. I'm not." Mom stood abruptly. "Emily, don't do this." "Why?" I asked. "Because it'll make him uncomfortable." Dad's voice sharpened. "Because it's family business." "No," I said. "It's theft." Logan slammed his phone down. "Wow, you'd really do that to me." I met his eyes. "You already did it to me." Mom's face hardened. This could ruin him. That word, ruin. I looked at Logan. Perfectly fine. No bruises, no fear, just annoyance. "He ruined it himself," I said. Dad rubbed his temple. "Think about what you're doing." "I have," I said. "All night." Mom's voice dropped. "If you do this, don't expect things to be the same." That landed. Heavy. "Things haven't been the same for a long time," I replied. Silence stretched. The clock on the wall ticked too loud. Logan stood knocking his chair back. "You're unbelievable." He grabbed his jacket. "You always were." As he passed me, he leaned in close enough that only I could hear him. "You think this makes you strong?" he whispered. "You're going to regret it." The door slammed behind him. Mom's shoulders sagged like she'd just lost something precious. She looked at Dad, then back at me. "I don't recognize you," she said quietly. "That one cut." "I recognize me," I answered. Dad shook his head. "This is tearing the family apart." I picked up my bag. "No," I said. "This is showing it." At work, I sat at my desk staring at my screen without seeing it. Emails piled up. Notifications blinked. Rachel rolled her chair over and stopped short when she saw my face. "Okay," she said. "What happened?" I told her everything, not dramatically, just facts. Each one tasted bitter. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back, arms crossed. "They're enabling him," she said flatly. "I know. And he knows they will." I nodded. Rachel's eyes hardened. "So what are you going to do?" I looked at my phone. At the insurance agent's number still open in my call history. "I'm telling the truth," I said. She smiled. Not warm, proud. "Good," she said. "Because once you don't, they'll never stop." That afternoon I typed my statement. Each word deliberate. Dates, times, messages, the missing keys, the crash. When I hit submit, my finger hovered for half a second, then I clicked. That was the moment the ground shifted. That evening my phone buzzed again. Unknown number, then another. Finally a text from Logan. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I didn't reply. Another message came in seconds later. "You're blowing this up for attention." I locked the screen. Then another. "Mom is crying. Hope you're proud." That one almost got me. Almost. I set my phone face down on the table. The dishwasher hummed in the background, same sound as before, but this time it didn't feel comforting. It felt like a countdown. The insurance office smelled like burnt coffee and recycled air, neutral, sterile, designed to keep emotions out. I sat in a plastic chair, hands folded tight in my lap, staring at a framed poster that read, "We're here to help." The word help felt thin. A man in a gray blazer called my name. His voice was calm, trained. Emily Carter. I followed him into a small room with a desk, a computer, and a ticking clock that sounded louder than it should have. He didn't rush me. That was the worst part. So he said, fingers resting on the keyboard, "Let's walk through what happened." I did. Slowly, cleanly. I didn't editorialize. I didn't cry. I didn't call Logan names. I told him I said no. I told him my spare keys were taken. I told him the car was damaged while driven without permission. He nodded, typing. "Do you have anything in writing that shows you denied access?" I unlocked my phone. The screen lit up my face. I slid it across the desk. A single message. Time-stamped. Clear. "Don't take my car. I'm serious." He studied it for a moment longer than necessary. "This helps," he said. That sentence felt like oxygen. "Family cases can be complicated," he added carefully. "Are you prepared for pushback?" I thought of my mother's voice. "Family forgives family. I'm prepared for the truth," I said. He nodded again. "Different this time. Slower. We'll file it as unauthorized use pending review." The words landed heavy. Unauthorized use. Not an accident. Not a misunderstanding. I signed where he pointed. The pen scratched across the paper like it was cutting something loose. When I stepped back outside, the sunlight felt too bright. I stood there for a second, breathing in air that tasted like consequence. My phone vibrated before I even reached my car. "Mom." I let it ring. Then Dad, then Logan. 3 calls, back to back, like a drill. At dinner that Friday, the table was set like nothing had happened. Candles lit, napkins folded, roast chicken in the center like a peace offering. I arrived 5 minutes late on purpose. Logan was already there. Sitting straight this time, jaw tight, no smile. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes as she poured water into my glass. It splashed slightly, missed the rim. Dad cleared his throat. "Let's eat." We made it 2 bites. Then Mom set her fork down. "The insurance company called," she said. I didn't look up. "Okay." Her voice wobbled. "They said you filed a claim against Logan." "Yes." Logan's chair scraped back an inch. "You didn't tell them to stop it?" "No." Dad leaned forward. "Emily, this has gone far enough." I looked up then. "It went far enough when he took my keys." Logan laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're really going to ruin me over this." Mom's eyes flashed. "Don't say that. I'm not ruining you," I said. "I'm refusing to lie." Dad's hand came down on the table. Not hard, but final. "This ends tonight." I felt something settle in my chest. Cold, solid. "No," I said. "It doesn't." Mom's voice sharpened. "What do you want?" That question, like this was a negotiation. "I want accountability," I said. "Not excuses, not money." Logan scoffed. "So, what, you want me arrested? I want the truth on record." Mom pushed back from the table. "This is tearing us apart." I swallowed. "You taught me not to cover for people who hurt others." Her eyes narrowed. "I taught you to forgive, not to disappear," I replied. Logan stood up so fast his chair tipped. "You've always thought you were better than me." I met his stare. "I've always been responsible for myself. That one hit." Dad rubbed his face. "If you go through with this, don't expect us to protect you." I almost smiled. "You never did," I said. Mom's voice cracked. "You're being cruel." I looked at her. Really looked. Cruel is laughing after you wreck something someone worked years for. Logan slammed his fist on the table. "I said I was sorry." "No," I said. "You said relax." Silence fell hard. Mom's shoulders shook. She pressed her lips together, holding something back. "Why can't you just let this go?" she whispered. I stood. "Because if I do," I said, "you'll never stop asking me to." I picked up my bag. The candles flickered as I passed shadows dancing on the walls like they were trying to escape. Behind me, Mom said quietly, "You're choosing a car over your family." I turned at the door. "I'm choosing myself." That night, Logan went public. I woke up to messages from coworkers I barely spoke to. "Hey, is everything okay?" "Saw something weird online." I opened my phone. There it was. A thread. Screenshots. A story twisted just enough to sound believable. "My cousin is trying to destroy me over a mistake. Some people value things more than blood." The replies came fast. Opinions, judgment, strangers deciding who I was. My stomach dropped. That was the 6th snap. At work, the air felt different, quieter. Eyes lingered too long. Rachel found me in the break room, phone in hand. "He crossed a line," she said. "I know." She looked up. "Are you going to respond?" I stared at the screen. Logan's words glowing venomous. "No," I said. "Not yet." That night, I sat at my kitchen table with the lights off, just the glow of my laptop, the hum of the dishwasher behind me. I drafted my police report, every sentence stripped of emotion, just facts, just truth. I attached screenshots, dates, times. When I finished, I sat back and stared at it. This wasn't loud. This wasn't dramatic. This was quiet, surgical. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. "You're breaking my heart." I closed my laptop. Then I replied, "I didn't start this. I'm just ending the lie." I hit send. Outside, a car passed, headlights sweeping across my wall, then gone. Something in me didn't hurt the way it used to. It felt steady, like the moment before a storm finally breaks. The police station was quieter than I expected. No shouting, no drama, just fluorescent lights and the soft scuff of shoes on linoleum, the kind of place where excuses went to die. I sat across from a desk with chipped edges, my hands wrapped around a paper cup of water I hadn't touched. It tasted like plastic anyway. The officer skimmed my statement. Page after page. He didn't rush. That felt intentional. So he said, finally looking up, "You're alleging unauthorized use of a vehicle." "Yes." "By a family member." "Yes." He studied my face not unkindly. "You understand this can get complicated." I thought of my mother's voice. "You're breaking my heart." "I understand," I said. "That doesn't change what happened." He nodded once, a small movement. Respect, maybe. Or just procedure. "We'll file it," he said. "You may be contacted again." When I stood to leave, my legs felt steady. That surprised me. Outside, the air was thick with summer heat. I leaned against my car for a moment, eyes closed, letting it press against my back like proof I was still upright. My phone exploded before I even pulled out of the lot. Logan called first. I let it ring. Then Mom. Then Dad. Then a text from an unknown number. "You're going to regret this." I didn't reply. By the time I got home, Logan's Twitter thread had doubled in size. People I recognized. People I didn't. Opinions stacking like bricks. "She sounds heartless. Blood should matter. Some people forget where they came from." I scrolled once, twice, then stopped. Rachel came over that night without asking. She let herself in, dropped her keys on the counter, and took one look at my face. "Okay," she said. "Sit." We sat at my kitchen table, lights low. The dishwasher hummed in the background like it was keeping time. He posted everything I said, or his version of it. She snorted. "Of course he did. I didn't think he'd drag my work into it." "That's because you still assume people have lines," she replied. "He doesn't." She pulled her laptop closer. "We're not panicking. We're documenting." I watched her fingers move. Screenshots, URLs, dates, anything he posts now is evidence, she said. "Let him dig." My phone buzzed again. "Mom this time. Please come over. We need to talk." I stared at the screen. Rachel didn't look up. "You don't, I know." But an hour later, I was in their driveway again. The house looked the same, warm lights, curtains drawn, safe. Inside, Mom was pacing. Dad sat stiffly on the couch. Logan wasn't there. "He's spiraling," Mom said the second I stepped in. I didn't take my shoes off. "He did that himself," I replied. Dad rubbed his hands together. "He lost a client today." I said nothing. Mom stopped pacing. "He's scared." "So was I said, "standing on the side of the road." She flinched. "That's different. Why I asked." She opened her mouth, closed it. Dad cleared his throat. "He says you're trying to destroy him." I laughed once. Bitter. "He destroyed my car. He tried to destroy my reputation." Mom stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If you drop the report, he'll delete everything." That was the offer. I felt something cold settle behind my ribs. "So that's it," I said. Silence for peace. Mom's eyes filled. "We're asking you to be reasonable." "I am," I said. You're asking me to disappear." Dad's jaw tightened. "You're forcing us to choose." "No," I said. "I already did. You just don't like it." Mom reached for my arm. Her grip trembled. "You're tearing this family apart." I gently removed her hand. "No," I said. I stopped holding it together alone. Her face crumpled. "I don't know who you are anymore." I met her gaze. "I finally do." Behind us, the front door opened. Logan walked in like a storm that didn't know where to land. Hair unwashed, eyes bloodshot, phone clenched in his hand. "You happy now?" he snapped. Mom rushed to him. "Logan, please." He shook her off, pointing at me. "She called the cops. She called the insurance. She's ruining everything." I didn't move. "You ruined it," I said. "Every step of the way." He laughed sharp and cracked. "You think you're better than me?" "No," I said. "I think I'm done cleaning up after you." His face twisted. "I lost 2 contracts today." Dad looked at me, something like accusation in his eyes. "That's not on me," I said. "That's on your posts." Logan shoved his phone toward me. "Fix it." I didn't take it. "You want me to lie," I said. Again. Mom's voice broke. "Please." The word hung in the air heavy. I looked at her, at the lines in her face that deepened every time she chose the easier lie. "I love you," I said. "But no." Logan swore under his breath. "You're cold." I nodded. "I learned." He stared at me, chest heaving. "You think this ends well for you. I think it ends honestly," I said. That seemed to drain him. He slumped into a chair, hands shaking. For the first time he looked small. Not smug, not protected, just exposed. Dad spoke quietly. "If you go through with this, things won't be the same." I picked up my bag. "They never were," I replied. As I reached the door, Mom said my name. Soft. Fractured. I turned. Her voice barely held together. "I raised you better than this." I felt the sting sharp and sudden. Then I said calmly, "You raised me to survive." And I walked out. That night, Logan's account went private. By morning, screenshots were everywhere anyway. The insurance company called at noon. "Ms. Carter," the agent said, "we've completed our review." I held my breath. "The liability has been assigned to the driver," he continued. "Estimated damages are just over $30,000. $30,000. I exhaled slowly. "Logan has been notified." I thanked him and hung up. My phone buzzed almost immediately. Logan. One message. What am I supposed to do now? I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, "Figure it out." I set the phone down. The dishwasher clicked as it finished its cycle. The hum stopped. The silence felt earned. The knock came 3 days later. Not polite, not patient. 3 sharp hits like someone trying to punch through wood. I didn't rush to the door. I finished rinsing my mug, set it upside down on the towel, and wiped my hands slowly. The clock on the microwave blinked 12:02. Too bright. Too calm. When I opened the door, Logan was standing there like he'd been hollowed out and left upright by habit alone. Wrinkled shirt, bloodshot eyes, hair that looked like he'd run his hands through it too many times and never stopped. "Hey," he said. I didn't step aside. "Can we talk?" I crossed my arms. "You're talking." He swallowed. "I messed up." I waited. That silence did more damage than shouting ever could. He exhaled hard. "The insurance bill came." I nodded. "I know." 30,000, he said, like the number might soften if he said it out loud. "They want payment arrangements." I said nothing. His voice cracked. "I don't have that kind of money." "That's not new," I replied. He flinched. "I lost another client this morning," he continued, words tumbling now. "They said they didn't want the drama." I looked at him, really looked. This was the first time I'd ever seen him without a safety net under his feet. No jokes, no parents stepping in, no soft landing. "What do you want from me?" I asked. He hesitated. Then quietly, "Help." The word sat between us like a dare. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger, not pity, recognition. "I helped you for years," I said, "just not with money." "That's not fair," he muttered. I tilted my head. Name one time you paid for what you broke. He couldn't. His shoulders slumped. They can't help me, he said. Mom and Dad, they're stretched thin. They didn't tell you, I know I said. He looked up desperate. So what am I supposed to do? I held his gaze. Steady. What I did, I said. When no one saved me. His mouth opened. Closed. That's it, he asked. That's it. He shook his head slowly. You really changed. I didn't deny it. You're cold, he said again. Softer this time. Not accusing. Almost confused. I leaned against the doorframe. No, I'm clear. He stared at the floor for a long moment, then nodded once like he'd finally heard something he didn't want but couldn't argue with. Okay, he said. When he turned to leave, he paused. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. I didn't think you'd take my keys, I replied. The door closed behind him with a quiet click. No slam. No victory, just an ending. That night I blocked my parents' numbers, not out of spite, out of necessity. Their messages had grown shorter, less demanding, more tired. We don't know how to fix this. Call us when you're ready. I wasn't angry anymore. That surprised me. I was just done negotiating my worth. Work stabilized slowly. One conversation at a time. One client at a time. The people who mattered asked questions. I answered honestly, calmly. The rest fell away. One afternoon, Rachel leaned over the divider and said, "Looks like the dust is settling." I nodded. Yeah. She studied me. You okay? I thought about it. About the quiet apartment. About the empty hook by the door. About the way my shoulders didn't tense every time my phone buzzed anymore. I am, I said, and meant it. The insurance payout came through a week later, enough to start over, not flashy, practical. I didn't rush into anything. I spent one evening sitting in my car in a grocery store parking lot, engine off, windows cracked, listening to the world move around me. Carts rattling, a child laughing, someone's music thumping faintly from another lane. Normal life, still happening. I realized something then. The car had never been the point. It was the first thing I'd ever owned that no one could claim credit for. No one could take pride in for me. No one could minimize. That's why it hurt. That's why it mattered. My mother called once more from a different number. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice sounded smaller than I remembered. I don't understand you anymore, she said, but I hope you're happy. I didn't delete it. I didn't reply. I just sat with it. Because happiness wasn't the right word. What I felt was lighter, sharper, more honest. I didn't win. I didn't get revenge. I got my life back. And for the first time, no one else got to decide what that cost.